Today, we're diving into some of the biggest headlines sitting at the intersection of science, biotech, and decentralization. From CZ, the founder of Binance, weighing in on DeSci, to OpenAI officially launching an AI for Science division, to a massive billion-dollar psychedelic IP deal, to Brian Kennedy and Aubrey de Grey, two established longevity researchers going in on DeSci. And lastly, we've got some IP token updates coming for you. There's a lot happening at the moment, so let's get into it. Let's start with CZ, the founder of Binance. Last week, he spoke about decentralized science at BNB Chain's anniversary event. His message was clear. Crypto has now reached a mature enough stage that is moving into the realm of science. This is not the first time CZ has spoken publicly about DeSci. In fact, he speaks of it quite often. He's been in interview clips, his social media, and most notably, CZ and Vitalik last year attended a really intimate DeSci event hosted by the Bioprotocol team. It was in Bangkok last year, and when they attended, we saw a massive sort of lift in interest in DeSci. And so I think it's really interesting to speak of these sort of cultural capital of these figures like CZ and Vitalik. When they turn their mind to something, you get a whole windswell of people who come and follow them. When he was talking at the event, he framed the future around 3 pillars: real-world assets, biotech, and AI. That's pretty huge coming from one of the most influential figures in crypto. For us, it validated a lot of work happening in the space. Funding, IP rights, decentralized clinical trials. Suddenly, these don't sound like niche experiments. They're part of the broader vision for where crypto infrastructure can deliver real-world impact. Next up, OpenAI. They've officially launched an initiative called OpenAI for Science, led by Kevin Weil. The idea is to build a new kind of scientific instrument powered by AI, one that could accelerate breakthroughs across fields like chemistry, protein engineering, and fundamental biology. But what does that mean in practice? Imagine there's an AI that doesn't just help you write code or summarize text, but one that can propose new molecular structures, optimize them, and even suggest potential clinical pathways. It's very interesting because it sounds really similar to some of these AI agents that we're seeing pop up in the DeSci ecosystem, which is a really positive signal because it means that we're on the right track. Decentralized platforms could play a key role here. Picture a model where researchers around the world, funded by DAOs, can tap into AI systems to accelerate discovery, while ensuring transparency and shared ownership of the results. This kind of synergy between DeSci and AI, for me, feels really intuitive. DeSci, at its core, to me, is the use of Web3 technology, the most powerful technology in the world, to improve science. AI, for me, certainly fits into that category. Now, let's shift gears into psychedelics, the fun bit. Pharma giant AbbVie just announced a deal worth up to $1.2 billion to acquire the rights to a psychedelic-based compound being developed for major depressive disorder. This is a really big moment. For years, psychedelic research has lived at the fringes, community-funded, DeSci-backed, shout out to DeSci, and outside of mainstream pharma. Now we're seeing a company like AbbVie is not only taking notice, but betting more than $1 billion on this. So what does this mean? On one hand, it's validation. Psychedelic medicine is real, it's coming, and it's going to shape the future of mental health treatment. On the other hand, it raises questions. Will centralized pharma acquisitions stifle open collaboration? Or could DeSci serve as the counterbalance, keeping part of the psychedelic research pipeline open, transparent, and globally accessible? So I started off this episode talking about people like CZ and Vitalik and OpenAI, who all hold great sway and importance within the tech world. But now I'm going to talk about something else. Researchers who hold great sway in the longevity world. And we've actually seen 2 of the world's top longevity scientists come to DeSci recently. So, starting off, Brian Kennedy has partnered with the Rapamycin Longevity Lab to test out compounds in Pump Science. So Pump Science is a platform that allows you to launch compounds and live stream their experiments in flies, worms, and mice. So it's really allowing you to test out and see the science for yourself. So Brian Kennedy will be testing out 3 different longevity compounds on Pump Science. This for me is a really positive signal because it shows that serious scientists are starting to get used to trying things out the box. For example, like Pump Science. More details on this partnership will be coming soon, and you can trust that I will have it on here for our DeSci roll-up. Then we have Aubrey de Grey's partnership with the DeSci ecosystem. Now, this partnership is interesting to me on so many different levels, and I will describe why. But I also just thought I'd let you know that in next week's episode of the podcast, we will be doing a deep dive with Akash, who is the head of biomachine learning and is really the sort of leader in the charge of creating Aubrey AI. So we'll have a chance to discuss everything in depth if you are curious. But for now, I'll give you a little recap. So Aubrey de Grey, world-renowned researcher in longevity. In fact, he is the researcher who, when Vitalik read his book, Vitalik was so convinced by his message that he immediately donated $2 million to Aubrey de Grey's lab. Aubrey de Grey has partnered with Bio, and they've built an AI agent called Aubrey to essentially come up with novel longevity hypotheses, which I think on the basic premise, this idea that we can sort of start to create these AI agent digital twins of really great minds is so fascinating to me because they don't need to eat, they don't need to sleep. They can kind of take all the best parts of someone's mind and really sit in this idea generation. And, Aubrey de Grey is one example, but we can start to think of what if we did this to Vitalik himself, or we could do it to Einstein's old notes, or Feynman. And we can really start to think of what a future might look like if you could get all of these AI agents working together, and what the future of idea generation looks like in this futuristic world. Secondly, Aubrey AI agent, so led up by Bioprotocol, has done a bunch of integrations within the DeSci space. So first off, it launched its own token on the Bio Launchpad. And under the hood, when you look at Aubrey AI, Aubrey will generate new hypotheses. You can actually even just tweet Aubrey and ask him a question, and that will be a hypothesis generation moment. Those hypotheses are then registered on-chain using the Molecule protocol, another DeSci plugin. Those ideas are then minted into IP NFTs, which is part of Molecule's protocol. And then those ideas are taken to Research Hub. Research Hub, for those of you who don't know, is Brian Armstrong's love project, essentially, which is a huge player in the DeSci ecosystem. But Research Hub then takes on those ideas, and there's fundraising for these sort of hypotheses that have come out of this AI agent. And you can go and take a look. They are full hypotheses with experimental plans and built out, and there's sort of a filtration system as these ideas go through the pipeline. So you're not going to see every idea that's registered as a proof of invention end up on Research Hub. But for me, this is really interesting because it's 3 DeSci heavy hitters, Bioprotocol, Molecule, and Research Hub, all working together in one workflow, which I really love as a concept. And the last item on my DeSci news bulletin for this week is the exciting news about 2 new tokens that have launched on molecule.xyz. So let's rewind a little bit. First of all, we had Fetal Token, which launched. Now, the Fetal Token represents governance rights over Project Transfidelity. Project Transfidelity is a project that aims to target Alzheimer's disease. Last year, 2 senior researchers from the University of Basel approached the DeSci ecosystem looking to fundraise for their critical Alzheimer's research. They had this new idea. Essentially, the way Alzheimer's works is that faulty proteins will be printed in your brain, and they'll begin to clump together and cause these protein aggregates, which essentially junk up your brain and result in Alzheimer's symptoms. A lot of treatments these days and medications being developed really aim to clear the protein clumps, but only after they've been created, so taking sort of a symptoms first approach. These 2 researchers, Dimitri and Rashid, decided that they wanted to tackle the root cause of these sort of protein clumps, and they have found 2 molecules that it could improve the process of protein printing. Better processes of protein printing mean less faulty proteins, which means that you don't even get these protein aggregates in the first place. They approached the DeSci ecosystem, and they managed to successfully fundraise for their scientific project from a number of individuals, but also from some of the DeSci heavyweights that you might recognize. Led by Cerebrum DAO, a brain health DAO, Vita DAO also contributed, which is a longevity DAO, and Beaker DAO, which is a DeSci investment DAO. The token is now live for trading on Molecule. It's really exciting, and if you want to get involved, you can go and look and learn more on the token page. Then we had Prima Donna, which launched this week. Again, same situation. 3 senior researchers approached the DeSci ecosystem looking to fund their research. Their research was a little bit different from Alzheimer's research, though. They are regrowing enamel, the outer layer of your tooth. This has never been done before. Currently, the only treatments on the market are veneers or caps. And so they have now found a way in the lab to regrow the enamel cell, so basically the cell for the outer layer of your tooth. The next steps in the scientific process are to start testing these things in real-life animal models. Because it's all good and well to grow a piece of enamel in a petri dish, but the next step is you have to test that it actually works when you bring it into a real-life situation. So they also fundraise with the DeSci ecosystem. And what's really interesting about this project, for me at least, is that, in fact, the DeSci ecosystem only constituted half of the funding. The other half of the funding came from an anonymous donor that heard the researchers speaking about their work on the radio one day and was so moved that they donated $200,000. Clearly, this is someone who really maybe has a personal connection to the research. Maybe they struggle from tooth pain, which I think it's something we don't tend to think about in our normal lives if we have healthy teeth. But once you do start to have tooth pain, it literally can rule your life. And we've heard from so many patients. We will in fact have a patient story coming out soon about people that tooth pain has completely derailed their sense of who they are and what they're doing. And that is the Donor token trading live on molecule.xyz. Please remember that neither of this is investment advice. Do your own research, and yes, make sure to make smart decisions. Okay, DeSci friends and family, that is the first DeSci roll-up complete. Thank you for sticking through it with me. I'm really excited to continue this series, and consider me to be your DeSci news anchor from here on forward. Have a great day. Bye.